Today we have an exploit that we talked about last week, and so I'm going to go deeper into it. We're actually going to do it together. And so this is a live 0 day, which means people can use them for bad things too. So you want to be there when it happens. I don't have time to go audit every contract for free and tell them what's broken and what's not. So, we just publish this stuff. Hopefully the good guys find out before the bad guys. Before that, we can go through some of these questions here. So we're talking about the lawsuit. Who brought this one up? Okay, so let's see if this is a decent article. This is a better. Yeah, okay, this is the real article. Let's just go over what happened and then we can talk about how to think about it. So what happened was, just a couple months ago, there was a person working at OpenSea, and they are responsible for which tokens show up on OpenSea.io, right on the top. They're the editor for this part, the huge part of the page. They would start buying NFTs, put them on the page, and then drop them. Obviously, that's not ethical for the editor to be doing that, at least not without disclosure. So you should be telling people if you're going to be doing that. But this was not disclosed and not people's expectation that when they're putting things here that they're just dumping them on you. I'm rolling my eyes as I'm talking. I'm going to make sure that's broadly applicable. Because there's plenty of places where they advertise things and dump it on you, and that's expected. So I guess really the concern here is that it's not expected. Of course, everything's public on blockchain, and this person failed to mix enough. And so it was found that there's a pattern of somebody who was doing this. And obviously that's the person that worked there. FBI got involved. There's a case. Some more facts was 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of money laundering. And wire fraud is maximum sentence 20 years. Wire fraud, this legal standard is basically like the Stasi. This is one of the rules in the United States, which is an embarrassment to regulations and legal systems everywhere, where basically anything you do on a computer somehow can be 20 years in prison, just like the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. That's another joke of a law. Wire fraud, basically everybody commits 3 felonies a day. The only way you could not commit wire fraud is if you're doing something face-to-face. If you touch a computer or fax machine or a telephone, everything's wire fraud. What this is not is securities fraud. So it's really interesting to see what is the legal theory here of what this person did being illegal. Now, we know it's unethical. There's a difference between unethical and illegal. Is it really the FBI's jurisdiction to cover people dumping things that they own onto a website? Maybe. And I found a great analysis on Bloomberg. Obviously, the whole reason that this legal theory is even being pursued is because people are thinking that NFTs are securities. And so the FBI doesn't go after securities fraud. The SEC does. But somebody felt like it should be a security, so they should get in trouble. So they felt like they had to find something to get this person in trouble for. And so they found wire fraud. And this is definitely some Stasi shit. This is not rule of law right here. If we're talking about a public company and we're defrauding shareholders, and this is a security, then we're talking about securities fraud. Here's the quote. If insider trading in securities is securities fraud, then insider trading in anything is wire fraud. That's what you might think. So this author makes a very clear argument that everything is securities fraud. Everything you do at a public company is securities fraud. And then he's saying, if buying and selling NFTs using inside information is wire fraud, well, then so is buying and selling real estate based on things working in Amazon. That's insider trading on real estate. That would be wire fraud. Maybe it will be ruled that way. But we really have to watch these cases carefully because these are very broadly applicable to a lot of things. Anybody who's selling an NFT knows something about that NFT. So is that wire fraud? Because that's the legal opinion that they're using here. And if they're going to use that broad bazooka to blast this guy, then maybe we're all at risk. Of course, the FBI is not going to go after all of us until they do. It's definitely bad what he allegedly did, right? This looks bad, not ethical. I don't know if it's wire fraud.
What do you think would be the right legal framework to approach this stuff?
I think this would be more of an FTC matter, the Federal Trade Commission. So if you're advertising something, there's laws and regulations about this. The argument should be, OpenSea is selling you this thing. There's nothing here that says their employees are dumping this on you. This appears to be an arm's length transaction. And there's nothing there's an information box here. Get featured on the homepage. Okay, create an NFT, post a link on Twitter, include OpenSea in your post, and we'll review these. Nothing in here says we're going to post things that we own or our employees own to dump on you. Nobody says that. So you can say, well, people are harmed because you're misleadingly advertising this thing for sale. It appears that this was curated, but actually wasn't curated. It's being dumped. It's being sold to you, not fairly curated. And this is a broad complaint I have about companies that come out of San Francisco in general. That's where you hold them accountable, is in the false advertising. You open Facebook, and the whole point of Facebook is to make you click on and get angry. If you open it up and you're not aware that that's what they're doing, then that's a problem. But if you open Twitter and it says, we curated this selection of tweets that we calculate are going to make you the most incendiary and most likely to say things that you regret so that other people will read it and say the things that they regret. If they could just put that sentence on Facebook, then there's nothing really to complain about. But they don't put that sentence. It's not exact same legal theory, but I think in general, again, the disclosure here is the problem.
Well, I think it's tough to draw the line. The FBI going after this kind of stuff does seem weird, but maybe there's a precedent for new industries where there is a clear regulatory framework for that kind of thing to happen, and no one expects it to be a long-term thing, but I don't know.
And that's why we have courts, and that's why they're slow. I feel like if I lose money, the FBI won't come to help me. FBI maybe should be reserved for actually important stuff where lives are at stake, not a few people losing money. But either way, we're going to watch this stuff. And also I work on policy. I'm over in Europe talking about how do we think about this stuff before this happens? How do we set these policies so that people can do business without fear of Interpol coming after them?
I had a question. It was about airdropping. It's about incentivizing people beta testing smart contracts.
Yep.
Where you have an instance in Rinkeby and you want people to go on there, you want people to test it, and then you're like, oh, well, when you do the actual deploy, you're like, okay, well, if you participated in the Rinkeby, maybe you interacted with the smart contract of some sort, we're able to reward you on the live one. We're able to go, hey, here's 10 coins for trying us out during the beta phase.
This is a great question. So in general, we're talking about cross-chain stuff. It's easy to do wrong. One of the recurring themes on this chat is, why do people keep getting hacked that are trying this? We can think of a few ways to do this. One of them is use Rinkeby to make a separate contract, use a bridge to send those tokens to the other chain.
That makes sense.
So the bridge would be using a wrapper token. So you've got the beta token on Rinkeby, then you give them a clone token or one-time redeem something or allow list or whatever you want to call that. Then you bridge those over. So then on mainnet, you have a bridged allow list token. Now let's talk about why this works and the security around this network. So the reason this works is because there would be a validator node who's living on Rinkeby and on mainnet, and the tokens come into the one side and then they're pulled from the other side. You, as an owner of one of these tokens, one of these allow list tokens on Rinkeby, you would send it into the vault. And then offline, this vault would sign a message, and then you take that signed message and you go onto mainnet and you use the signed message to mint yourself a allow list token on mainnet, which then of course the smart contract can interrogate and mint whatever your stuff. And the security of the system is premised around the fact that these signed messages generated off chain, if they were violating any rules, then they could get slashed. And so they would have to have some staked ether or something, and so they would be incentivized not to do that. And again, if they could defect and take $1 billion, but they only staked 50,000, go buy on an island. Just like USDT. That's worth, I don't know, many billions of dollars. The only thing that this person has staked is their reputation, and they have custody of tens of billions of dollars. So this is a disaster waiting to happen. God forbid this person dies. They leave it to their kids. Nobody even knows who their kids are. And so they have zero reputational risk. So they just fly away with the tens of billions of dollars. There's no legal claim on that money. They just take it and do whatever they want. And there's no reputational risk. Again, for these bridges, same thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. I wish there was an easier way to do it.
In general, the broad issue here is synchronizing disparate networks. This is always hard. Let's tap a beer. Today's thoughts are brought to you by Citrus from Flying Fish. All right, so here's how you do it. This allow list contract will be responsible for verifying somehow, whether it's token owner or something, right? On Rinkeby, we're going to emit these logs. We're going to consume and validate these logs by doing a brief block validation using the difficulty and the hash, and then the specific transaction using an inclusion proof. And in that specific transaction, we're going to validate that the log was part of that transaction. And the log, again, the only way the blockchain is going to emit that log is if the smart contract allows it. Cool, right?
Yeah, so far it makes sense. I mean, the part with the inclusion with the Merkle proofs, that sounds difficult. At least from my side, but yeah, this makes sense. Is there a way to also introduce some sort of block height checking on mainnet? Because, well, let's say the Rinkeby phase is over, right? We're done with Rinkeby. We now deploy to the mainnet. I don't want them to have the ability to continuously use Rinkeby and then come back on mainnet to redeem some of their locks. I want it to be like a timed phase.
The redeemability feature will have a time limit. After a certain time, this feature shuts down.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a drop phases structure where we have a start time for each phase of the drop. Somewhere down here, we're checking the drop phases. So we're checking the time versus the block timestamp and to find the right phase.
Cool. This is cool. Yeah.
I like doing it this way because for the light.art, that's the one I'm working on. I wanted the administrator to be able to just upfront declare when this is going to happen. This is when the drop starts. Here's when the allow list opens. Here's when the public sale starts. Each thing is public. I've seen other drops where they're like, everybody's like watching to see the admin drop like starts now and then ends now. I don't like that. We feel like watching the blockchain is not how drops should be run.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, they're poorly organized. The existing ones at the moment, that is. Yeah, it'd be cool if there were easier ways to manage them, like the way you described it.
A couple things. You were talking about the checking inclusion proofs with the Merkle. That's only necessary if you want to do like a really optimized batch checking, right? Like you could do a naive version where you're not doing like Merkle checks.
No, because there's nothing stopping somebody from going to create a transaction, failed, which theoretically would have run the allow list and theoretically would have produced that log result, but never hit the blockchain.
Okay, I thought you were doing that because you were trying to optimize multiple, but you have to do it even for just one. It'd be interesting to have like a timing mechanism that's based on random numbers. It starts here, but there's a 50% chance it doesn't start this block. But then next block, there's a 50% chance it starts. And the next block, and it just keeps going. So that there's not like this huge spike when it does launch, which still causes gas problems.
I think the solutions to gas problems are well known. Allow lists really shut down gas problems because you've got an allow list, maybe there's 1,000 people on it, but you're only selling 500 NFTs. So there's no rush. There's no reason for people to be outbidding each other because they're going to get what they're going to get. And then when the public sales opens, really the way NFTs are sold is entirely through the allow list, which is, a shame. So that's one way. And then the second thing is if people are fighting with gas, you're leaving money on the table. This is a broad concept. So if you are having a gas war, that is money that you selling the NFTs should be getting instead. And the way you get that money is using auctions or by having a bonding curve or some pricing mechanism that gets more of that money into your pocket.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the thinking was like, Dutch auctions were a big thing.
Dutch auctions and bonding curves are definitely status quo right now. Bonding curve means a lot of things, so I'm talking about the first one is sold for 0.1, then the next 20 are 0.2, and the price goes up based on numbers sold. It's fair, it's easy, it's transparent.
Can we talk about secret option number C?
Centralized. Okay. This is, you just do it yourself.
To me, why go through all the trouble? Why does it need to be done in this way? Are these such extreme decentralization maxis that the only way they're going to trust what you're doing is if it's all done via smart contracts?
My personal opinion on it is I don't want one node to just randomly get hacked because maybe there's like a running service account or something, or something has default credentials. I don't know. There could be a lot of things wrong with the system that leads to compromise, and I don't want the keys or anything like sensitive on that machine allow like for someone to run off with the pre-allocated funds for giving out to people that may have participated in the beta.
Let's not roll it out. So let's talk through what this would look like. So you would tell people, everybody needs to redeem your stuff by July 1st. After July 1st, we will run this tool, and I'll give you even one as an example you can copy paste from. And you could say, I'm going to run this tool, you can run this tool. This will produce the list. You can put on your Discord, here's the list. Did I make a mistake? Then what you do is you take the Merkle root and you paste it using your admin function into your new NFT contract. If you're deploying the new NFT, you deploy it with that Merkle root directly in it. Because you blessing the contract, you putting your name and reputation behind it, is already more centralized than this chimera of cross-chain validation that you need to create.
I think option C is a good idea, especially if it's like time phase, like if you have a bunch of people interacting with your smart contract, it all gets recorded into the Merkle root and everything after it, and then you take all that data and then you use it once the time phase is done, and you just deploy the contract with that information intact. That seems like a pretty good way to do it, yeah.
We already disclosed this last week, but I'm going to show it to you this time. Remix, implement this here. The name of our attack is called Evil Owner of. What is the briefest implementation of an NFT contract? What is the only function you actually need? Okay, and if we're going to have a marketplace do something, and it's going to be a function. One of the requirements of this attack is that the marketplace needs to work on any NFT. So we got to have some type of token specified, and usually it's going to have token ID. It's It's probably going to check that you're the owner of the token. So it's going to do something like acquire NFT.ownerOf equals message.sender. Probably going to require that. And then it's going to do something. And just to prove that it did something, we're going to have an event called did something. And we're going to emit that here. Okay? So this is a very basic marketplace. It does something. And then let's go make our NFT contract. So contract evil NFT is NFT. And we're going to implement this function. And it's just going to return something. Doesn't matter. Here's our contract. Here's our marketplace. And so we're going to deploy this. So we're going to deploy our NFT. We're going to deploy our marketplace. And we're going to test it. So we've got the NFT here. We're going to do something with it. So NFT 0 transact green check mark. This NFT contract just makes anybody the owner of anything. Anybody who wants it to be the owner is the owner. And this marketplace does something with that NFT. Let's extract this dangerous did something to a different function. Let's call this the reprice function. And that's where we're going to emit did something. Here's where we're going to make this dangerous. What we're going to do is this owner of function here, which is called in here, we're going to make it reentrant. So this is where we're going to actually call the marketplace dot reprice. This is an external function, which means somehow this evil NFT needs to know about that. So it's going to be public address marketplace, and we're going to have a function to set that. Okay, so now here's the violation. This is no longer a view. This is an external function that can do dangerous things. The owner of is thought to be a view function, but it's not. This is not an implementation of the NFT interface here.
Does the spec say owner of can only do a certain thing?
Yep, that's right here. So the word view means it cannot do this. It cannot do this reentrant thing here. So let's compile this and let's see what happens. We're going to deploy the NFT. We're going to deploy the marketplace, and we're going to string them up a little bit. So we're going to take the marketplace and the evil NFT. We're going to set the marketplace, green check mark, and the NFT will check the owner of. But this could be doing something. Let's check the price here. Price is 0. And then we're going to, from the NFT contract, plug the marketplace into here. Now we're going to check the owner of 0. We're going to check the price in the marketplace. It's 1. And we can call the reprice from the marketplace directly and it goes up. Price is 4. This right here is no problem. We're having something that calls something else. This is no big deal. Here's where the problem is. Here in the function that is made to do a trade or set a price of something, it's expecting. The expectation here is that this is not going to do anything dangerous. So if we call the do something function, the assumption here is that this is not going to change anything. So the price is 4. Nothing should be changing as a result of doing this trade. Now this is going to fail because of a specific feature in Solidity. Solidity is expecting, because this NFT contract is based on this interface here that's a view. And so it knows that it's not allowed to do something that's changing in here. But let's go back in time. Let's instead use the old version of Solidity, 4.24, and let's go find the version that was actually used in ERC 721 back in the day, 0420. So let's go use that version and start over. Just going to redeploy it, version 420 of the contract, the compiler. We're going to deploy evil here. We're going to deploy the marketplace. We're going to go get the marketplace and tell the evil contract where the marketplace is. Now it knows where it is. Now we're going to go to the marketplace, check the price, it's 0. We're going to reprice it, that's a 1. We're going to go run this owner of thing here, and now the price is 2. Nothing weird happened. Here's the problem. When you go to do a trade in this do something contract and your NFT is this evil NFT and you're trying to trade function 1 in the Solidity 07 or 08, it would not allow this line of code to run. But in 0.4, when you hit run, it gets a green check mark. What means that this function here resulted in the price changing to 3, which means that this code is reentrant. That is a big problem. Here's why. There might be like price and you're going to collect money from message sender. Then you're going to check that they own the token. Then you're going to send money to DAO. The problem is here, you're going to check the cost, check price. This function results in the price changing to 1 billion. Then it checks the price, which is now 1 billion, which just changed, and then it sent 1 billion, wiped out. That's the attack.